Welcome to Nice Try for the fans, by the fans. This is us, Elle, and
What it do?
Timothy Joshua Smith in with you. And my goodness, the second weekend of Rugby World Cup is wrapped up, and we will bring you all of the results. Thursday, we kicked off France against Uruguay, 27-12. That sounds really tight for hosts and favorites and a tier 3 team. And then New Zealand, 71 points to 3 over Namibia on Friday. The bulk of the matches took place Saturday and Sunday. Samoa beating Chile 43-10. Wales over Portugal 28-8. Ireland and Tonga 59-16. We'll definitely be chatting about that one. South Africa 76 points to 0. That makes them what? They've only conceded 3 points this World Cup so far.
Yeah, it's them in Argentina,
Sure.
keeping the try line protected.
And then Australia, Fiji, my favorite match of the weekend again. Fiji again. 22-15 this time, not leaving any broken hearts. And then the final match of the weekend was England, 34 points to Japan. Before we get into your news and everything else, let's take a look back. Last week, we looked at the all-time greatest number 6.
Yeah.
It's the toughest one, I believe. I did a little poll just to get some. Schalk Burger coming in with 50% of the votes. Sia Khaleesi 33%, and other going to Francois Pienaar 17%. I was surprised.
Oh, I mean, who was the
Meh.
who were the audience? I'm assuming it's a polling of one, maybe.
It was quite interesting because these are all passive viewers, so I thought that they'd go with Sia because he's so popular and he's a man of the people.
Definitely.
But I was delighted to see Schalk Burger coming out.
Well, the people have
tops.
spoken.
Yeah.
So, were we to deny?
Yes.
We
Yes,
are for the fans of the world.
Yes, I will tell you that one of those Sia Khaleesi votes came through from Hannah formerly Smith, being Rachel formerly Smith's sister.
Okay.
So yes, I don't know how trustworthy those results are, but thank you for participating. And of course, we invite you in to let us know who the players are that you want in that all-time greatest Springbok lineup. Please do. You can comment anywhere where you're listening or on YouTube or send emails. It's bsgproductions@outlook.com. Timothy, news from the world. Big news coming out after that Romania victory is that South Africa officially called up Handré Pollard. It's not a exact trade, seeing that it was Malcolm Marx, the injured player, leaving Rugby World Cup. Pollard, of course, it was a huge story back when the squad was announced. He missed out on that initial squad because of a calf injury, but now he is back. And he's been back. He's been playing off the bench for his club. You've been watching him closely.
Yeah, he's made his return. He's been in training, and I think Jacques said he was one of the few players that were ready to go, ready to play. So he's had some sort of fitness, at least match-ready fitness, and apparently decided to announce himself by getting yellow carded for a no arms tackle. I think there were a couple of infringements before leading up to his yellow, but I think it was quite an egregious tackle. It did not seem to match the Springbok philosophy. I think he was taking a few cues from
Owen Farrell, perhaps.
Yes, definitely. Maybe he heard of the call upcoming and decided to get an early flight. Hopefully it doesn't get cited or any further ramifications. But good to see him back. We always sort of suspected that he would find his way in as soon as there was going to be a injury.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Oh man.
Malcolm, shame. I mean, was I think definitely the informal curve of the squad.
Yeah.
So quite sad to see him miss out.
He's just such a presence as well. We don't have anyone lifting anyone off for those great highlights packages.
Definitely. So it's obviously a big miss. Bongi was our starting hooker for the previous World Cup, so it's not as a massive miss for the starting team, but
No.
I think that bomb squad is,
That's the concern.
they've been demoted from, a C4 explosion to, I don't know what, like a Guy Fawkes firework.
That's my only concern. We've grown accustomed to having our starters and our replacements at the same level. That's it. No one's doubting Bongi. He's risen to the occasion as captain as well.
Yeah.
And it's really great to see him in action. It's just, he needs his rest, he needs his relief as well. And we don't want to lose quality.
Yeah.
Now, another area of concern for the Springboks in terms of injury is that Vincent Koch, he was meant to start this weekend, and then again during training, or it might have been during the warm-up,
Yeah, through the
he
warm-up.
pulled up.
Yeah, it feels wasted. You can understand someone getting injured in playing during the game. It seems a bit more, how can I say, agreeable that you will, you find it justified. But I'm not sure what these people are doing in training and in warm-ups. But they say, you practice for how you want to play. Maybe Jacques are really taking that to the full extent. But from what I've seen so far, it doesn't seem to be a serious injury. And we do have quite a bit of cover on our props. So.
Yeah. And then Ethan de Groot, he got a red against Namibia, and he has his disciplinary hearing coming up. What do you think?
I think it might be sort of touch and go. It seemed like this week the referees weren't as stringent. So maybe they feel like it's been a week. Their heads have acclimatized. So contact to the head is not as serious anymore.
Yeah, because your head now it's made differently.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
I
that
think
makes
you might maybe get a week. There were no arms in the challenge, but some of the stuff that they were letting go is, even in the Springbok game, there were a few touch and go contentious decisions. We'll see how they adjudicate it. It might give us some insight into what is going to take place going forward.
A final news story, and this isn't really a news story, it's just picking up from different press conferences. The one being after the Wales match, Warren Gatland talking about tier 2 teams and how he's been impressed by them and how it would be great for the game if they were included more, if there were tournaments or small series where they could be exposed to tier 1 opposition. Like, he thinks it would be great for the growth of the game. And then, of course, it was sad and lovely all at the same time where Andres Villaseca, Uruguay's captain, where he, after the French game, he was like, oh, it's so nice to see all of you, because there wasn't anyone, well, there was hardly anyone, when their team was announced before the World Cup. And now it is like, whoa, look at all this media, I'm not used to this. So these other teams, they're getting some deserved attention. And
yeah, it's tough. Although I do feel like World Rugby has, I think they said they invested quite a bit of money into the sort of Minnow countries. The only thing is COVID did throw a spanner in the works from the last World Cup. I think even during the England-Japan match, they mentioned that Japan, since the last World Cup, had only played 19 tests. And England had played 42, and that was just due to circumstances.
yes.
So I think maybe towards, going towards the next World Cup, it might be something that you will see a bit more emphasis on the smaller countries. And they've shown where the investment has taken place that they are deserving and they can contribute on the world stage. Interestingly, someone also mentioned having a sevens-like format. I don't know if you've heard this making the rounds, in terms of having these minnows still have something to play for.
Yes.
So you have your cup, you have your shield, and you have your plate.
Yes.
Which I think is quite
That's
interesting.
gonna be nice, yes.
Because you don't want these teams to come up and get, smoked. I feel like Romania have something that they'd like to play for.
Yes.
And how do you have the number 1 ranked team and then you play the number 3 or
Yes,
the
that's
2?
not fair.
Yeah. So I think that might be something that they could look into implementing, and it would give some, incentive and not just have a complete domination.
The headlines. Looking at the headlines this morning, people are talking about England surviving, not winning. So it was almost, a mixed reaction, I suppose.
Japan had a few opportunities, and I think this is where you see the sort of not match ready, not having experience, especially though most of the squad is the same, team that played in 2019. You still need those combinations, and something it will come to the fore in something like lineouts and set pieces, and even combinations in your attacking phase. And I think I wouldn't say survive, maybe they survived the first half, but England started to run away.
Yeah, the first half it looked how I thought it should look.
Yeah,
the cracks started showing soon after that.
Yeah, especially when they started to chase the game. They're just playing in England's hands. And England were kicking quite a bit.
Yes.
And so, it worked out for them tactically, because Japan were having to start the attacking phases very deep in their own half. And Courtney Lawes' try was like a perfect example. Joe Marler was there.
With the header.
Yeah. So it's unfortunate. In a perfect world, Japan would have had more time to test their combinations and really get a feel for one another. We were at a stage where we thought they wouldn't be able to complete anything. So this could be something that is interesting to watch develop.
Yes.
Because they are playing percentage rugby at least. I'm not sure that what that would look like.
It's gritty and it isn't the most pleasant, but it is a style that can be successful in a tournament.
100%.
And their group, their pool, it's doing funny things, because Samoa beating Chile with a bonus point moves them up to second. And I know that they haven't played, they'll be playing Argentina this weekend, so we'll see what happens. But hello, we've got an open pool here. And we've got a Pacific Islander, a South American, an Asian team. This is, it's like,
Yeah, that Samoa game versus Argentina will be sort of, I think, indicative of how the group is going to pan out. Someone said that Argentina game, he feels like the clones were on the field and they were still on the bus. I think Samoa, I really think they have a shout. Lealefano, maybe we're not talking about Mani's missing kicks, but I think it's across the board, because I know he's quite an accomplished kicker. So they do have that threat, and if they don't play into England's hands, I think that will be a real challenge. But we'll see what they do against Argentina. I'm not making any predictions for this team.
No, please don't. Give them a chance.
But it would be nice to see.
Stay away from this group.
Yeah, I think this is I'm going to leave it up and just watch it as a neutral.
Just a side note, I did read that Japan have added the French symbol, the fleur de lis, to the front of their jerseys, just as a symbol of respect to their hosts.
Oh, that's nice.
That's a nice touch.
Japan, as a rugby playing and supporting nation, it's like the Fijians, their passion and their respect and the way they play the game, the way they approach it. It's nice to see as a neutral. You always end up supporting them, unless it's in Brighton.
No, we don't. We don't talk about that here. This is a safe space. Moving on to the actual hosts, the French. I know it's not their starting lineup, it's not their superstars. There's a lot of different things that can be said, but it was a nice match to watch. If not for the Fijians, this would have probably been my favorite match of the weekend, just because, again, the even contest. And I have some numbers for you. Territory, the South Americans actually beat out the French in terms of territory, and then the French just narrowly beating them in possession, 52% to 48. And then the set pieces won only 17-20 in favor of French. So it was quite evenly contested. And Galfi, he says he's not worried, of course, because guess for a coach, he could take what he needed to from the match.
Yeah.
But I think the French fans were a bit taken aback, where they were expecting, a Romania kind of scoreline, and they didn't get it.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely expecting that. The result, for me, just from an outside, maybe Alti is not wanting to cause alarm. But that second string French team looked like they could be had. And so I'm not sure. We'll have to see what Uruguay does against someone like New Zealand. Maybe it was this is our final sort of, we're up against the host. Let's really put our hands up. So we'll see.
You're sounding like Owen Wilson now. They can't play better than that.
Yeah, because the French team, that second string team, shall we say, put up decent performances against tier 1 nations. So I'm not sure what to make of it.
Uruguay, the team to watch.
Yeah, so we'll see. My takeaway was that France are really soft. It's not a bomb squad, it's like a paper squad.
Oh my goodness.
But we'll see.
Also, and this I'm noting for us, when we meet them come knockout stages, and again, it's a different team, but they conceded 15 penalties. And when it comes to those later stages of the tournament, those are the kind of stats you don't want.
Yeah, discipline.
Yeah, I think they've got a lot of work to do there.
Yeah, discipline is definitely going to be key in the later stages. And if your substitutes aren't coming to the fore, it will definitely be punished at the later stages. So it'll be interesting to see. The Italy game might also be something. I'm not sure if they'll go again with might be a mix of first and second.
That would be wise, because you don't want those players to now get rusty while waiting on the sidelines.
It's quite a balancing act that they're going to have to play. It's not out of bounds to think that New Zealand might still top this group.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
We'll see. Italy.
Okay.
Scratch that.
I did not see that coming. I forgot Italy was even in this World Cup. Now they're going to put in the upset of the tournament.
I mean, if Uruguay were able to get that far, Italy is just man for man, much better.
And they're more exposed as well.
So we'll see.
And then I'm going to leave this one to you, because this was like a match that stood out for you. Ireland and Tonga. The Irish, it's weird, because the scoreline tells you that it was a demolition.
Yeah.
But you don't feel that that's fair?
It's one of those. It's similar to the Japan-England game, I would say. Tonga really had a few opportunities, and they were their own worst enemies. And to be fair to them, they did come up against I wouldn't say a second string Irish team. They played the majority of their starters, but they were the silly errors. It was Tonga's first game, so can excuse them, but basic things, penalties that didn't have to be conceded. You can understand a penalty, you were tempted to go for a turnover. Yes. But some stuff that are just
silly.
Yeah, you're not. The gain is not worth the risk. And I thought was it William Avili? He kicked really well, and so I thought, okay, they can keep up. But then the game just ran away, and then I would say Ireland did assert their authority. Something that I think the Springboks need to be really careful on is their short play, especially the offloads in the tackles, so like the wraparound runners. That was quite dangerous. I don't think Tonga had game plan for that enough, and so they got quite a few gains on those short passes. Yeah, we'll see. I think Ireland didn't put up a comprehensive performance as I was expecting, considering their lineup. It wasn't something that impressed me, shall we say.
Do you think players are able to hold back?
I think in a World Cup you can't really take chances, especially if there's only a set amount of games. It's not like a Super Rugby season or
it's a marathon.
Long-term competition. You really need to give your all, especially because there are players waiting in the wings. And so there's that internal competition as well. You don't want to be, I held back from a tackle that led to a try. So I don't think that is something that is happening. You know, sometimes it does look like that. It looks like people are not giving a full effort. I can understand your challenges where you think, okay, I'm going to preserve my health. Especially someone like Johnny Sexton. I think he will just be, he knows his importance to the team, so he might, but I don't think you'd see that amongst the forwards at least. So the World Cup, I think you go all in.
Although at halftime they did take him off and then change the entire front row, so there might be an element of protection or buffering.
But then you have Buddy Aki pulling up with what looked to be cramp, at least on 2 occasions before he got substituted. So obviously they're monitoring the players. They have their stats in how much distance they've covered, how many meters they've made and stuff like that. So I think it all, those people have a bit more insight, and so they'll be able to make the calls at their limit at least, or have enough work done for the match.
With the Springbok match, there's that internal competition that you're talking about. That's and something that we've already spoken about before recording is the competition in the midfield. Yeah. And after the match against Romania, you believe that it's clear who should wear 12 and 13.
Definitely. I'm selling I'm selling on the young guns. I don't think they had a bad performance, but given our dominance and our superiority in other aspects, I thought we would see them stamp a bit more authority. And in the chances that they did have, they never made use of it. Thinking particularly
passing to Jaden, you mean?
Yeah. Kanan's a lack of sort of vision was very concerning. Esther's looked a bit slow. The only thing I will say is the conditions weren't the greatest. You might give them some leeway with that.
Yes, please.
Especially someone like Marvin, a line-out specialist. Shame it was bucketing when he was on. But I think the coaches knew who were the starters, and I think it should sort of hush those tones of we should be playing this guy. No one, for me at least, put up their hand and said, I need to be starting. I think the team is balanced as they are. It was nice to have the guys get a few minutes under their belt, and they did well to limit Romania. A few vital interceptions or turnovers at least on our own line, which was encouraging to see, because I think Romania, they were very like on a number of occasions where we were about to score and they just stopped chasing. And they could have made our kicks much more tougher. They pushed us out wide, but they just
there were times under the high ball where we were, and again the conditions, but that's probably an area for me that this year, or this phase that we're in this season, it's been less than perfect.
I would say our kicking hasn't been on point. It's either too long or very short. And so our runners, I mean, Grant Williams, there were many occasions where it looked like he ran way too fast.
Too fast.
Or the kick wasn't,
it wasn't going where he expected it.
Yeah, so I think we definitely need to work on execution in that aspect. I like the kicks that Damien was doing against Scotland. Not these massive bombs, but at least contestable.
Yes. It had intention.
Yeah, these kicks seem like we were just...
But is it the opposition? When you're playing against Finn Russell, who's leading the charge, your intention is different, and also there's like a hyper awareness, and the game plan is very strict. Whereas against Romania, you're taking more chances, you're playing a little bit more, and now it's a downpour, so you're kind of just...
Yeah, I think Springboks are renowned for playing down to opposition. So I think this was encouraging, the fact that we never conceded, and things got better. I think Feli, you can see he wasn't taking the game seriously. Some of his concentration errors, having his not having his eye on the ball, simple things like that. In previous, I think teams would have maybe caused a much bigger impact. But I think the defense, I'm happy with it. One too many missed tackles.
12-13 again.
Yeah, but I think we will have more missed tackles, just the way we defend.
Yes.
Because we are pushing up, the pressure is actually what we want to create, and not necessarily a 90% tackle ratio.
Yeah.
If they are going to put pressure that leads to a knock-on, then they would consider job done, which I think is actually quite smart. You're not having your team in as many collisions.
Yes.
So I think Jacques has definitely planned it that way. It is a bit nerve-wracking watching one guy like step 6 people, but I think in a traditional defense structure you wouldn't see that. But the opposition is, there were many times we kept pushing Romania back because of that very aggressive defensive line. So I think it worked out in the end, and I think this team is we shouldn't measure them by previous Springbok standards.
Oh, it's so entertaining. There's a lot we can say with this new, I want to call it like a new generation.
Yeah, definitely. I think we saw parts of it in 2019, and the coaching team has always said this is our aim.
Yeah.
And so it feels like they were keeping their cards close to their chest and didn't want to reveal everything. I feel like we haven't even seen the full extent of our defense yet, and I don't think we'll see it until we get to the knockouts. They won't reveal these
until
cards.
someone tests us enough.
Exactly. So I think I'm just very confident about the boys and very happy with the performance. It was a really entertaining, like you said, even in the conditions.
Yeah, looking at the weather, I thought, oh no, we're gonna miss having these lovely running plays and lots of passes and moves.
Yeah.
But it's like they didn't know.
I saw some images of them training where Faf was, at least the scrum halves were dunking the ball in water. So they clearly had that in consideration. But it was crazy how it changed and then changed again. And then I think what is also encouraging was the fact that when it was pouring down, we played a bit tighter, and then as soon as the weather changed, the conditions changed. Yeah, we adapted.
It's like Formula 1 strategy.
Yes,
like changing the tires. Yes. That's very good, because you need to be able to do that quickly and
100%.
Effectively.
Yes.
Well done.
Yeah, because typically we would do the same thing.
Yeah.
The measure of insanity.
Yeah, yes.
And so I think the guys, and you can see there's certain players that are dictating. We shouldn't discount that, especially with guys like Feli and Dwayne. The scrums, I want to get to the
lineouts.
Yeah.
Because obviously that was an area, and that's probably why they only made that announcement after the match, was because they wanted to see what's possible in terms of having these non-specialist hookers coming on as replacements. And we saw Marku and then Dion Fourie interchanging. That was that's quite cute. For me, the line out wasn't as much of a concern as them in the middle of the scrum.
Yeah.
Because Romania's scrum is quite
reasonable.
Solid, yeah.
Yeah, I think we only lost one scrum on our feet, and that was when Trevor slipped. And that, it's just part of the game. The lineouts weren't really contested, so that doesn't give you
difficult to test.
Yeah, and Erkia was on, so
so I could have thrown it in.
Exactly. So I feel like our scrums, or at least our mauls, were nice. Though Romania did put up quite a good defense on that. I think for the most part, it was, I guess, at least the coaches seemed like they were happy with what was delivered. And I think we really need to give credit to the coaching team.
Yes.
If they were training Marco at hooker, it's just a foresight, because they said they were training him in the Pretoria camp, which was
that's
before before the
But
outgoing series. Yeah, I think these guys are really clued up, and they are planning contingencies upon contingencies. And so I think we really are privileged and blessed with some great coaches.
Nice. And then the final match we're gonna talk about, and maybe just briefly, because I don't want to say too much about it other than thank you, Fiji.
Yeah.
Thank you. You know how I felt about the Wales Fiji match and just how I was picking up the pieces of my heart. And I think a lot of not only neutrals, I mean even just fans of rugby, there's just this beautiful display of just what's great about the game. Fiji has that on display. And now the way they've grown up into this team that does structure well as in one episode you said like Mavericks running around the field. It's met now, it's marrying and it's looking great, and I was thrilled for them. And sure, Eddie Jones says that fans and the media can throw baguettes at him and all of that, but I don't want to make it about him. I don't want to make it about the Australians being subpar.
Yeah.
I just want to, Fiji, thank you, well done, this is what we came for.
Yep, massive result for Fiji. And it seemed like World Rugby was again trying to throw a spanner in the work with some of the calls on the field. So I'm just happy that they got their just desserts and that they showed that they deserve to be there, and also the investment has paid off.
Yes.
It's a tier 1 nation. Australia's not who they once were, but at Fiji had most of that game.
Oh yeah.
They were never, or I don't know if they were chasing at any stage.
No.
If they were, it was for a very...
They stayed like 7 ahead.
Yeah, so... And even them also being adaptable, taking the points on offer, not trying to play basketball everywhere. It's nice to see. And like you said, they should have gotten something out of that Worlds game. And so happy to see that they managed to get it over the line. And that group is going to be quite interesting.
Yes. Pity they couldn't get the 3 at the end to give Australia less than a bonus point loss.
Yeah.
If they did, then it would have been, oh man, it's on now. But yes, it is wide open.
Yeah, these two groups in particular is going to be quite interesting watching. So I'm looking forward to see how they go against a less fancied side. It's nice that they have the two main fixtures out of the way.
Yes, and now they've got a bit of a break before taking on Georgia at the end of September.
Georgia won't be an easy game. Like I said, they had opportunities against Australia as well. So hopefully that structure remains, and they don't revert back to type. I think they've got quite a few experienced players that are seeing the World Cup for what it is and not just being focused on the moment. So hopefully that helps them and they can come away with something. I'm not making any so not a hidden agenda. I'd like to see them progress, so I'm rooting for them, and hopefully they get the job done.
Well, those are the standout matches for us. We would love to, of course, hear from you as well. And you can also find us on Twitter if you search BSG Productions or Nice Try for Fans, and we can have a little back and forth over there. Now, the final feature, as per usual, we're building the all-time greatest Springbok lineup, and today we're looking at the blindside flanker, the number 7. And if you thought last time was difficult, I'm struggling with this one as well. In fact, I haven't actually made a choice. For me, it's a tie.
I think a lot will depend on what happens. What's the outcome of this World Cup?
Okay.
And how many number 7s do we know are World Player of the Year? That's all I'm saying.
Well, I mean, Juan Smith could have been.
True.
I can't just use things like that.
I will say in Peter Stiff's case, it was justified.
Okay, no, 100%.
So that's my pick.
Okay, well that's easy.
Okay.
Yes, because he is, and this is what makes it so difficult, is because, as you know from our last position pick, Skalkberger, the greatest rugby player to walk on the planet, he left quite a void when he hung up his boots. He's now filling that by being a pundit and like the best as well, but that's a different conversation. Maybe we'll do a round of that. But when Peter Steff, and I know he didn't start as a flank, he started as a lock. And sure, okay, great, yes, specimen, amazing. But then when he moved to flank, you're like, oh my goodness, I don't miss Skulk as much.
Yeah.
He has this lovely combination of what Skulk brought and then what Skulk had with Juan Smith, who is my counterpick.
Okay.
For me, you can't separate the two. It's so fine.
It's close, though. I will say, if we're just looking at it from a sort of narrative perspective, I'm not aware, and I stand to be corrected. But in terms of what Peter Steff has also overcome, just in terms of injury, people were fearing that he was going to lose his leg, and to come back and produce the way he has. I think that just in terms of story and legend.
They both carry so well, they defend so well, and in an emergency they could move to a lock position and do as great a job.
Yeah.
It's really tough, but I hear you with the adversity narrative.
And his effort, my man. It's just non-stop.
Even when he doesn't physically have it.
Even when he doesn't need to. I'm like, okay, this man is just flexing. Look at Jesse's try against Wales. Jesse's long gone.
Step behind.
He's still chasing. And I think that, for me, it's... You can see he really loves rugby as well. Like, that's his happy place.
Oh, that's my favorite. Not my favorite because it's not a great thing, but when he gets binned, there's a death in the family. Like, his face.
Traumatic.
He set such high standards for himself that getting a yellow and letting down his team and his country and his family, he just carries so much.
Yeah. I think someone like Mostert not move to lock, that would also be interesting, because they're very similar in terms of how much they give to the team. How I remember when Jaden got injured against Argentina, and you see Franco, I think it was Kremer from Argentina, go up to him and try and start a fight there, because he was like, why are you doing this to my teammate? It's almost like the big brother sort of feeling. And I think they really, everyone there's not a negative word to be spoken about him. So just from that perspective, I think they're also invaluable to the team.
Yeah, for sure. We'd love to know your thoughts as well on that all-time greatest number 7 in the Springbok lineup. You know where to find us, and we can't wait to hear from you. But before we go, just yay to the Proteas
Shame.
for beating Australia and winning the series, because there is, after all,
a World Cup.
Another World Cup.
Yes.
Much less talked about, anticipated World Cup. Coming up. And so well done to them for
massive results.
Yes.
World number 1.
Themselves out of a hole.
Australia, it seems like they've traded their cricket team for their rugby team.
I don't
and
know
so opposite fortunes.
Yeah, but that is it from us for this episode. We look forward to your thoughts, predictions, views, and insights. Timothy, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much. We'll speak to you guys soon.
That's it. Nice try for the fans.